Picture this. You're scrolling through travel apps, looking for that perfect weekend getaway. The photos look beautiful. Small town charm, historic downtown, affordable hotels. You book the trip, pack the car, and hit the road with your family. What you don't realize is that you just booked to stay in a place where people who look like you have been systematically excluded for over a century. Everything you've been taught about post-racial America is a lie. Today, I'm exposing the 10 cities where being black in 2025 can still put you in real danger. These aren't random crime statistics. These are places with documented histories of systematic hostility that continue operating under different methods. Here's what your GPS won't tell you. There are still cities in America where the 1960s never ended. Places where federal courts had to force integration at gunpoint in the 1990s. Where communities still maintain virtually zero black populations, despite being located near major metropolitan areas. The tourism boards scrub their websites clean. Travel bloggers avoid mentioning the ugly history. But I'm about to give you the documented evidence they've been hiding. What makes these places uniquely dangerous isn't just their past. It's how successfully they've maintained exclusion while adapting to legal changes. When you understand their methods, you can recognize the warning signs elsewhere. Sociologist James Loewen spent decades documenting something that shouldn't exist in modern America. Entire cities that had systematically expelled their black populations and maintained that exclusion for generations. His research revealed thousands of communities across America that operated as sundown towns, places where black people faced threats for being present after dark. These weren't just Southern phenomena. They appeared throughout the Midwest, West, and Northeast. The obvious signs came down after the Civil Rights Act, but the infrastructure of exclusion adapted. What emerged was a sophisticated system of maintaining separation through economic, social, and institutional mechanisms that achieved the same segregationist goals without obvious legal violations. What I'm about to show you are the places where this system achieved its greatest success. Before we dive into these dangerous destinations, if you believe black families deserve to know the documented truth about where they're traveling, subscribe to Black Stories Untold and help us expose the histories they try to erase. We're using their own records against them. Now back to the video. Number 10, Pekin, Illinois. In 1924, Pekin hosted one of the largest white power rallies in Illinois history, drawing between 25,000 and 45,000 attendees from across the region. This massive gathering wasn't an isolated incident. Pekin had been a pro-slavery stronghold before the Civil War and continued excluding black residents for decades afterward. The rally represented a celebration of policies already in place rather than the beginning of exclusionary practices. The scale of community participation in racial intimidation reveals how deeply embedded these attitudes became in local culture. When tens of thousands of people travel from surrounding areas to celebrate racial exclusion, it creates generational transmission of hatred that doesn't disappear when the obvious displays end. Today, that historical foundation of organized racial hostility continues to influence community attitudes toward black visitors and residents. Number 9. Cullman County, Alabama. From the 1890s through the 1950s, Cullman County maintained an official policy of racial exclusion backed by local government. Warning signs were posted at railroad tracks and county boundaries stating, "Don't let the sun go down on you in Cullman County." Former Alabama House Speaker Tom Drake publicly confirmed these signs existed and were widely known throughout the state. This 60-year period of legally mandated racial exclusion created institutional precedents that persisted long after the obvious policies ended. When local government creates official frameworks for exclusion, those systems evolve rather than disappear. The transformation from legal to informal exclusion methods allows communities to maintain the same segregationist goals while avoiding obvious legal challenges. Number 8. Arab, Alabama. Arab implemented the most extreme sundown town policy documented in American history, prohibiting black presence even during daylight hours. While other exclusionary communities at least allowed black workers during the day, Arabs' policy was total: no employment, no travel, no presence permitted at any time. This level of complete exclusion exceeded even the policies of other notorious sundown towns. The extreme nature of Arabs' exclusion reveals how far these communities were willing to go to maintain racial separation. When even other hostile towns considered a place's policies excessive, it demonstrates the depths of systematic hatred that shaped local culture. This total exclusion mentality created community norms where racial hostility became completely normalized across all aspects of daily life. Number 7. Anna, Illinois. Following the 1909 lynching of William Froggy James in nearby Cairo, Illinois, Anna residents transformed their town's name into a slur acronym: "Ain't no N-words allowed." State highway records show that warning signs referencing this acronym remained posted on Illinois Route 127 through the 1970s, making racial threats visible on official state highways just 50 years ago. Unlike communities that tried to hide their racism, Anna made exclusion their defining community characteristic. They turned racial hatred into a source of local pride that became embedded in town identity. This branding of racism created a community culture where exclusion wasn't just policy, it was fundamental to how residents understood their place in the world. Number 6. Corbin, Kentucky. In late 1919, Corbin executed what court records describe as a coordinated expulsion of the town's entire black population in a single night of organized intimidation. Contemporary affidavits preserved in federal court files document mob members declaring their intention to run all N-words out of this town tonight. The operation was systematic and complete. Within hours, no black residents remained. When black workers later attempted to return to their jobs, they faced renewed threats that made clear the expulsion was intended to be permanent. The efficiency of Corbin's ethnic cleansing demonstrated how quickly organized communities could eliminate unwanted populations when local authorities either participated or refused to intervene. Number 5. Cicero, Illinois. In 1951, when Harvey Clark Jr., a black Korean War veteran, attempted to move into an apartment in Cicero, thousands of white residents organized in opposition. The unrest was so extensive that Illinois National Guard troops were required to restore order. Police initially stood by and watched as crowds destroyed property and threatened Clark's family. Cicero maintained an official policy, allowing black employment during daylight hours while absolutely forbidding overnight residence. The Clark incident demonstrated how aggressively that system would be defended when challenged. Located just miles from diverse Chicago, Cicero proved that metropolitan proximity meant nothing when suburban communities organized to maintain racial exclusion. Coordinated action. Number 4. Forsyth County, Georgia. Following racial conflicts in September 1912, Forsyth County systematically expelled its entire black population through organized intimidation and threats. The demographics tell the story of successful ethnic cleansing. The county went from having over 1,000 black residents in 1912 to 0 by 1920. That population never returned. Current census data shows virtually no black residents among over 250,000 total population. In 1987, when civil rights activists attempted a Brotherhood Walk through the county, they were met by hundreds of counter-protesters waving Confederate flags and shouting slurs. This response, 75 years after the original expulsion, proved that community attitudes had crystallized rather than moderated. Current demographic patterns show that exclusion continues operating through economic and social mechanisms that achieve the same results without obvious discrimination. Number 3. Vidor, Texas. In 1993, federal judge William Wayne Justice ordered immediate integration of Vidor's public housing after determining the town had illegally maintained all-white residency for decades. U.S. Marshals had to escort black families into the housing project while hostile white residents gathered outside. What followed became known as the Vidor experiment, a federally supervised attempt to force integration in a community that violently rejected it. The Black families endured months of intimidation before all eventually moved out. Federal officials quietly ended the program, and Vidor returned to its previous demographic status. The failure of court-ordered integration revealed that even federal intervention couldn't overcome community-wide commitment to exclusion when that commitment operated at the cultural level. Number 2, Harrison, Arkansas. Harrison expelled its Black population following race conflicts in 1905 and 1909, then spent over a century maintaining that exclusion. Drive into Harrison today and white power billboards promoting extremist websites remain visible from main roads. The headquarters of a major white power organization operates nearby, using Harrison's post office as their official address. In 2020, a viral video showed multiple Harrison residents confronting a filmmaker holding a Black Lives Matter sign with slurs and violent threats. The incident revealed how community attitudes manifest when residents think they're not being judged by outsiders. Harrison formed a community task force on race relations in 2003, acknowledging on their website that the town struggles with a widespread perception of racism. Yet the infrastructure supporting that perception remains visibly active. The combination of historical expulsion, current hate group presence, and recent documented hostility makes Harrison dangerous for Black travelers, workers, or families considering Northwest Arkansas. Number 1, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee has been ranked the worst city for Black Americans 3 consecutive years by comprehensive national studies analyzing income, housing, employment, and educational opportunities. The statistics reveal systematic exclusion operating at metropolitan scale. Black median household income of about $37,000 compared to white households earning above $84,000. Black home ownership rate of 27.5% versus white home ownership at 69%. Black unemployment rate of 8.5% compared to white unemployment at 3%. These disparities affect nearly 250,000 Black residents, more people than live in most American cities. Unlike rural sundown towns that excluded through obvious hostility, Milwaukee perfected exclusion through institutional and economic mechanisms that appear race-neutral while achieving segregationist goals. Current residential segregation in Milwaukee exceeds levels found in cities with explicit histories of legal segregation. This systematic separation operates through housing policies, employment practices, and educational systems that maintain racial isolation across generations. Milwaukee's sophisticated exclusion methods make it more dangerous than obvious sundown towns because the discrimination operates through institutional policies that affect every aspect of Black economic and social advancement. These 10 cities reveal the blueprint that thousands of other communities followed across America. The transformation wasn't random. It followed predictable stages. First, a triggering incident or economic threat, then organized community response to solve the problem permanently. Finally, the creation of cultural norms that made exclusion feel natural and necessary. What makes this pattern particularly dangerous is how it adapted to changing legal landscapes. When obvious discrimination became illegal, these communities pioneered methods that achieved the same results through economic zoning, policing patterns, and social pressure. Understanding this blueprint helps identify similar systems operating in communities that haven't made national headlines yet. It's 2025 and I'm making videos warning Black people about where they can safely travel, work, and live in America. While politicians claim we're in a post-racial society, the evidence shows that exclusion just got more subtle. These communities learned to maintain separation without violating civil rights laws, and they've been remarkably successful. Before traveling anywhere new, spend 5 minutes researching that city's racial history. Google the city name plus sundown town or racial incidents. Check social media posts from Black visitors. They'll tell you what the tourism websites won't. Your money is your vote. Choose businesses and destinations in communities that have proven they welcome Black people, not just tolerate them. Most importantly, share this information. Your family and friends are making travel and career decisions right now without knowing what you just learned. If this documented evidence opened your eyes to dangers you didn't know existed, you need to understand how these exclusion systems were originally designed. What I just showed you is connected to something even more disturbing that we've already exposed on this channel. While you were learning about these 10 dangerous cities, you might have missed our investigation into the horrifying abuse of white women on Black male slaves. That video reveals how legal systems gave white women unprecedented control over Black bodies, and how they used that power to design the very systems of oppression that created these exclusionary communities. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out right now, because understanding who really controlled the machinery of oppression explains why these dangerous places still exist today. Subscribe to Black Stories Untold for more truths they tried to erase. Stay informed, stay safe, stay strong.